where these people have no proper training whatsoever. They've got no horticultural experience. They don't know anything about mowing heights. They don't know anything about fertilising, pruning, or appropriate pest controls. They don't know any of these things. And of course, they then offer poor advice.
Where are we starting?
In no particular order, for no particular reason, but I'm going to start off with things like Jim's mowing services.
Right.
All right. And other franchises, not just Jim's.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jim.
there are other mowing franchises. And one of the things that bugs me about this is that you can just go and buy a franchise, pay Jim his exorbitant prices for a mowing round, where these people have no proper training whatsoever. They've got no horticultural experience. They don't know anything about mowing heights.
Very good training.
They don't know anything about fertilising.
3 days of horticulture training, 3 days of business training,
They don't know any of these things. And
pest
of course,
control, fully trained.
offer poor advice to the clients.
Actually, far better than most independents. Most independents don't get any sort of training.
It's a real shame. It fills a market because people are so time poor now, and they get I haven't got time to cut the bloody grass. We'll get Jim's mowing in, or get someone in who's never done this sort of work before in their life.
They've been properly trained. They get ongoing training. They get regular meetings.
Oh, that's a real smart thing to do. And I always bang on about mowing. It's a big part of how a place looks. And we're in the middle of winter now, and if you went out to my backyard, my grass is dark green. And even though it's kikuyu, it's a mongrel grass, but it's a dark green. And that's because I know how to look after it. My experience over the years, I've worked in turf research. I was curator at Toorak Ladies College.
So every independent has got a horticulture degree. This is news to me.
But these people that mow the grass, I mean, in the middle of winter, for instance, rather than cutting the grass every 2 weeks, they might be saying, "Oh, gee whiz, I can't go out every 2 weeks because I'm cutting nothing." So in order to get their money, they go out to that grass that's basically dormant and they lower the mowing height. And by lowering the mowing height...
No, actually, no.
They
increase they reduce the frequency. 3-4 weeks go on holidays to Queensland. That's what they do. Everybody does
The
it.
less root depth you have below to sustain what's
Plants
on
would
top.
not put up
So
with
those
having
roots come
lawns mowed
towards the
fortnight
surface.
during the year.
And of
What
course,
sort
the
of
first
business are you
hot
in?
day burns the roots.
Right.
So the grass is dead.
Right.
Whereas if they were half smart about the way that they control mowing grass, for instance, they would be feeding it on a regular basis. They would be encouraging that growth to come up.
We actually train and encourage our franchisees to cut the proper height, not too short. It's more clients that actually push it below.
Green, lush lawn.
But Jim's mowing, poor Jim.
Poor
but
Jim.
Jim or whatever franchise would not have the money that they need to keep the business going. So you're saying they're going on a weekly basis, cutting people's lawns?
Yeah.
Actually, they're better off than most independents because they're generally busy all year round. It's the opposite.
And they just try to justify their time that they're spending.
We knock back hundreds of thousands of jobs all year round. Our guys are busy.
Times during winter before you get down to bare dirt, and then you've got all sorts of inherent
This guy's
problems.
just ignorant. He has no idea how people run businesses.
That he should train his people.
Well,
We do train them very thoroughly.
Buying something and then getting out there and going and doing.
You
it.
wouldn't
It's
find
more
1% of
understand.
independent contractors in Australia get trained as much as our guys
to
do.
understand these things. There's with the internet today, there's lots and lots of access to those things.
Right.
There's Instagrams, there's lots of posts on those sorts of things and how to do
We
things.
also follow up on complaints
and with
too.
Instagram.
So if some person doesn't know how to do something, then we come back and say, okay, now go and do it, or retrain in the field, or have extra training about customer service.
And it's a great way of doing it.
Nearly done.
Okay.
All right, so
That's pet peeve number one.
that's peeve number one, right?
So,
Peeve
Jim,
number two.
So what do you? His name is Keith, the gentleman. He's obviously a passionate gardener, but he's Toorak Ladies College is obviously a prestigious place to get your training. But maybe you want to talk about with Keith and just let him know about maybe some of the incorrect things. As you were talking, you were saying that as well. But what are some of the incorrect things that were done?
Look, the fact of the matter is our people... I have enormous respect for independents. I really do. I think anybody who gets their business off the ground without the help of a franchise, and the great majority fail. Something like 90% fail in their first year. And it's true. Most of them don't have any training. They pick it up in the field as they go. Maybe they'll look at things like YouTube videos. But if you looked at the industry as a whole, our guys would be in the top 10% because they have to do it up front. We make them do it. 3 days business training, 3 days horticulture training. We make them go to ongoing meetings. The franchisor needs to ring them at least monthly. We follow up all complaints about anything going wrong. So any problem with the job, we will follow it up. We will go and we'll retrain the person in the field. If they get too many complaints, we'll make them go out again. So if people in the industry, ours are actually by far the best.
And there's also a small percentage of people who are just doing the mowing. It's not just mowing, is it? It's a lot more than what they'll be doing the whole year round.
Yeah, that's right. And we teach them those kinds of things too. Look, we have a system called Bizzer, where we actually sell jobs to independents. So this is the people out there already in the field needing work. We sell our surplus jobs because we've got hundreds of thousands of unserviced leads. You know what the biggest characteristic of independents are? The service is nothing like as good as our guys. In fact, we have to cut. Most of the people we actually give work to, we don't give work to because their service is not good enough. They're not as good as our own franchisees. That's the independents out there. Look, I respect them enormously, but most of them have no idea what they're doing. They really don't.
No, what about the thing is just it's lumping everyone thinking it's some corporate guy who's just gone and liked mowing and throw the hand. I know from training we had people with 10-year landscapers come in. We've had professional greenskeepers for 20 years who come in and use the system. We've probably got more experience than the old Keith on
and not only that, but the franchisors themselves are mostly experienced too. They're really long time in the field. I myself was a lawn mowing contractor for 15 years. Now, I don't have a hort degree, but I certainly know a lot about looking after gardens. And I will give assistance and help and advice to people. There's all sorts of people in Jim's group who can actually help and advise and help them out. So what this guy says is very sensible in a sense, but that yes, people who in this field should be trained and qualified. What he doesn't recognise is that in fact Jim's mowing or Jim's pest control is actually a solution because we're better at it than the vast majority of independents. And that's why they succeed. You know, in a given year, in the first year of business, between 90 and 95% of independent businesses fail, often because they just don't know what they're doing. They're not qualified, they're not trained, they're not supported. By comparison, 12% of our people we lose in the first year. And that's not for lack of knowledge or training. It's because some people just aren't suited in business, or they have a health problem, or they get offered a great job somewhere else.
Now, do you think the price for Jim's mowing franchise is exorbitant in regards to the return on investment?
I think it's a fantastic business. I mean, for heaven's sake, we're talking about an average, including equipment, of about $30,000. Our people average just a bit under $3,000 a week based on it. So you're going to get it back in, 2-3 months? What other business can you get with a success rate as ours that you'll get it back in a few months? I mean, you buy something like a McDonald's, you're lucky to get back within years.
Plus the brand recognition, 96% brand recognition for Jim's Mowing in Australia, and you can pay a small fee to have that on your shirt like we do here, right? And that's the thing.
It's a fantastic deal. Look, I appreciate everything he says, actually, about the need for people to be professional. He's just totally ignorant about the way our system works. Yeah. And he has an extraordinary idea that all the independents out there have all done hort degrees and so forth. Very few of them have that kind of qualification.
Thanks for bringing that up, Keith, and just please know that the Jim's Mowing guys are fully trained, as you heard from the man himself. We wouldn't normally respond to these sorts of things, but we think it's...
I do respect independence, I really do. I take my hat off to anybody who can make a go of it in this business without the kind of help we provide. But I tell you what, our guys are good. Overwhelming majority. There's a few that aren't quite so good, and we really take steps. And sometimes we'll actually terminate somebody who really won't give good service to clients. But the great majority of Jim's people are very good at what they do.